John Jones. Yeah, man.
The man says we're rolling.
Oh, good. Great. Guys, we're doing episode 1 today of the Monster Success Podcast. Appreciate you guys getting on. We're going to share this into the private Facebook group, Tommy.
Can you go ahead and do that while we're doing this?
Well, yeah, let's do it right now. Yeah, I don't know why we're waiting.
Yeah.
So, because we're streaming right now through the GoodTimeTommy page, I think.
Yeah, we in the future, maybe people need to come to your place, or we could figure out ahead of time.
Monster producers don't wait on perfect situations. We just usually
That's
attack,
right. That's
right?
exactly right. Jen Junes, hello.
Yes. Yeah, man, I wasn't nervous till John showed up.
Well, he won't. The good thing is he won't stay there long.
Okay.
So go ahead and
That's
move us.
So the purpose of this really is a podcast setting, and really what we want to do is just talk about Tommy's involvement in the coaching program. You were really maybe the first.
Oh, well, I am the first.
You
and
were the
the
very
oldest.
first.
That's right.
Of Coach Burt. Mm-hmm. What year was that? You remember what year that was?
Well, I remember John hired Coach, I think in 2009. Is that when you brought Coach in?
Okay.
Yeah, 2009.
That was a great time for real estate, wasn't it? 09, 08, 09?
Yeah, John opened up this company October 1st, 2008.
Okay.
And it was a terrible time, and by probably a year later, John brought in Coach. And
Okay.
once that, I think he was here about a year with John Jones Real Estate, then he started doing kind of like gym membership styles. The first course, or his first program was called Execution Quotient.
Okay.
Then he went to this subscription model with Monster Producer. XQ was like a yearly fee.
Oh, okay. So you paid up
once.
front.
Go ahead and share us in there. Are you going to share it on
Yeah,
your page?
Well, I got caught going into the thing here. Let's see. All right, Sharon
is Karen.
What made you get into personal development?
Because I sucked, and I was 35 years old. I'd been very average, but the market allowed me to be average. If the market wasn't good, I would have been below average, and John Jones definitely helped me. But at 35 years old, everything crumbled. I had to move in with my mom. I was broke as hell, and Coach came over here, and he started coaching our other agents. And what Coach taught me was I could find a way to get better, and I wouldn't have to work as hard.
Ah,
And that really interested me. It's like, if you get really, really good at this, you don't have to do all these other things. And I from that point, I was really, at about 35, 36 years old, that's when I really decided, you know what, if I can get really, really good, this makes a lot of sense to me. It gave me a vision. It was the first time, other than coming in and doing the things I didn't want to do, my new vision was, how can I just get really good at this? How can I develop myself? At the time, I didn't know what personal development was. I'd gone to high school, I graduated from college, but from the time I was 23 years old to the time I was 35, there was no self-taught. There was nothing. I didn't even know. I wasn't even aware of building this type of a skill. Had no thought of it.
What made you choose real estate? How'd you?
Because I sucked at everything else I ever did.
So you thought this was going to be easy money, Cadillacs?
Well, no, I was a very unsuccessful stockbroker. I grew up wanting to. I grew up and I wanted to be. It was a stockbroker back then. Now they've made the name sound better. Financial advisor. I don't know what it is, but I watched the movie Wall Street, the first one.
Yeah.
And that had a really big impact on what I wanted to be.
It was a great movie.
It was a great movie.
That's great.
And I really wanted to be a football coach, a high school football coach.
Wow.
And then I said, you know what, I want to make more money, and I want to be a stockbroker. And I went through college. I got a psychology degree, nothing to do with finance, but during that time I knew I was going to go be a stockbroker. Then I got a job at J.C. Bradford. It was an old brokerage firm, good old stories. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to be, because I was really more in a support role, helping brokers, and I'm like, one of these days I'm going to be this. I'm going to do it.
What's that guy's name? Gecko.
Gordon Gecko.
Gordon Gecko.
But it was a very hard job, especially for a 20 27-year-old guy that didn't have any money or really any
Yeah.
networks to money. And I would always call John. John was a guy that I'd always looked up to. He was about 5 years older than me. He played football at the same school I went to. I always watched him. He was doing really good in real estate, so it made sense that I would just call up John.
Yeah.
He liked me. He was nice to me, but he didn't buy nothing from
Yeah.
me. He wasn't going to buy nothing from me. And one day he's like, "Man,
Were you in the friend zone?
I was no threat to a purchase from him. He was not going to share his money with me.
Yeah.
But he liked me, and he was growing this team model out, and I would call him, and he started saying, "Man, why don't you just come do this?" And I didn't want to do it because by this time I was probably on my third attempt at trying to make it. What I mean by that, the first place I went, they fire you if you don't hit production goals. Got fired, then went to another place, got fired, and by the time I was at this third place, I still had hope.
Yeah.
There was still a part of me that thought I could do it, but I wasn't expecting to make it.
Why do you think people weren't buying from you during that time?
Because they didn't believe in me. Because I didn't believe in me.
I got you. What did you get when you first got in with Coach? What are some of those early things where you thought, "Man, I'm growing here. This is good," or "This is helping me"? Or
I would say the first big thing that I recognized was how serious Coach took himself.
Yeah.
When he was, I've known Coach, well, I knew him when he was a basketball coach, but he's told me stories of whenever he was coaching middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, he may have been in high. I don't know how old he was, but he was very young.
Yep.
But he would wear like what you're wearing, Cameron.
Yeah.
He did not come in there as a middle school coach. He came in there as Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
He always saw something. He always saw something different
Yeah.
than others saw in himself. I was somebody that because I wasn't successful or I wasn't doing anything, the way I could get attention, the way I could connect with people is, hey, let's make fun of me.
Yeah.
So the first thing that stood out about Coach was, man, he takes himself serious.
Yeah.
And that was an awareness. It was the first time I had become awakened to taking myself serious.
That's good.
And it went from being around him, I decided that I was going to do something about it. Hey, I'm tired of everybody. I'm tired of making fun of myself. I'm
so you
tired.
saw him as successful or trying to be successful. You saw him as taking himself serious, like
Man, I was just blown away by his confidence
Yeah.
and how well spoken he was in situations and how well he could communicate.
Yeah.
That was the early impacts.
Yeah, that's good.
Then it evolved into other things, but those first things were that just believing. He's just always believed in himself.
You've been in his coaching program for 6 or 7 years?
Since it started.
Yeah, so I've been with him for 6 years, so.
Oh, no, I was in it before then.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know of any, I know Daniel Hodges has been in for a while, Kerry Ann Sears been, Brandon
I was
Burks.
before all of them.
Yeah.
Me and Brandon were close.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a
He came
supporter
right
early.
after.
Yeah.
All three of those people were making 7 figures,
They're making a lot of money.
making a lot of money,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it speaks to this long obedience.
Yeah.
Coach talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
Because you may hear something today that Coach says has been saying for 10 years, but it may hit you different because of what you're going through.
Yeah, well, anytime what you hear things based off where you currently are. So, like, if
Yeah.
I read a book, depending on where I am at that time in my life, it may mean something to me.
Mhm.
I may come back a year later, read the same book, and it's like I'm reading a new book.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a different place. I can absorb information, penetrates me a little bit different.
Mhm.
So that's why I don't get bored doing the same things over and over again. As I grow, the information's new.
Yeah. You got to get lost in the mundane. That's really.
I tell these guys that. I mean,
Yeah.
success is so much about being able to come in and duplicate successful principles every single day, even when you don't see that they're working. It's that long obedience, like what you're saying, over time. If you come in and you do something for 5 days, you're not going to get any results. But if you've done that for 5 years, your life changes.
Yeah, no doubt. Where do you see your business headed? Like, how has Coach helped you build a bigger a bigger vision?
I'm slow there. I wish that I could see it, believe it, and expect it to happen. But I see the team growing as the people on the team get better. Like as Noah gets better, and he's brought in Cam, and they get better, and then this guy gets better, and Josh gets better, Drew gets better. I see the team growing with people getting really, really good. And as we get really, really good, other opportunities will present itself as the brand gets bigger. Like, think about Cardone. Started out as a car dealer.
Yeah.
Or a car salesman.
Yeah.
Then he just kept growing and getting bigger and bigger until he could get into other things. So I see it eventually getting wider, more things in there as we have a bigger platform. But what I always tell people, I've got to find a way to keep showing value to keep people here. It's my responsibility to have enough of a vision that everybody that's here that has a dream bigger than where they are today, I've got to be able to feed that to them. I've got to be able to give that to them. So it's going to force me to do things I didn't know I was going to do.
I think the biggest challenge I face offering coaching services to the just everybody, to the world, most people are sleepwalking through life.
Yeah.
Right? You that's the stage of life that you were in when you found Coach. Basically, is what you're telling me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You were just...
I was drunk walking.
Yes. Less than mediocre.
Tipsy, hungover.
But you weren't... Your mind was not awakened to possibilities of growth. Right?
I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I just thought one day I'm going to make more money. That was kind of my thought.
Yeah.
One of these days I'll make that. I was always the one day guy.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'm on my way. I was thinking that.
Yeah. Okay. What would you tell somebody that's watching this who is maybe sleepwalking or struggling to get going, and they're paying for coaching, or maybe they're not paying for coaching?
Everybody hears the rah-rah message.
Okay.
And none of what you hear from people is going to matter until you're ready to make the change.
It's a choice.
It's definitely a choice. I mean, I could have heard this at 31 or at 31 years old. It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered who was in front of me, and it would not have mattered what how great their content was until I was really put in this spot. It was a godly thing to be put in this position to where I hit the bottom.
Yeah.
Now I had no way. I couldn't go any lower. Now I had to start. Okay, my way is not the way.
Right.
What I've known is not the right information. How I want to do this is not the right way. So, if you're still somebody that believes you've got this figured out, it doesn't matter what I say. But if you're somebody that is searching for new possibilities, if you're somebody that believes there's a better future out there for you, you just don't know what to do, what I would tell you is I would definitely make the decision to start investing in me. I wouldn't think about how do I make some money and save it. It would be how do I make money and how do I give it to Coach so I can I'll trade my money for Coach's expertise, his information.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to do this until I get bigger.
Yeah.
And I make more money. And then I'm going to, maybe if I start making enough money, I'm going to continue to invest in myself, but I'm going to put a little bit of money over here for other things. But you've got to understand that the best investment that you're going to make is on yourself.
Yeah. Right. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Brad Lee told us a couple weeks ago about the pay-to-play concept.
Mm-hmm.
Most people say, well, I'd never pay to get in the room. I would never pay that much money. I would never make that investment just to go hear Tommy Davidson boot camp, right? Or
thanks, Brad.
Yeah, no, but what he's saying is the pay to play is real, and you've paid to play. You've paid to get into the rooms with
a lot of things. See, a lot of things happen whenever you pay to play. Too often people are short-sighted. It looks like they think I'm making a purchase for this. Mm-hmm. They think I'm going to buy to do whatever it is. But there's a lot of other spiritual things that are going on with you when you make the decision to start investing in yourself. Mm-hmm. It transfers, like me and Cam were talking about what Tim Story said. Whenever I can show to myself that I'm willing to invest money in me, I start expecting better things.
Yeah.
You can believe something is possible, but it's a completely different it's a completely different state when when you expect it. Too often, people want the information, but they don't want the invisible asset that comes along with it, the confidence. One of the best investments I ever made was probably a failed product. I went to Cardone and they sold me on this branding package that was $25,000, and back then, 25 grand, that was like $2 million.
Yeah.
Could have been trillions. I don't know. But we would have a call once a week, and he would say, do this, and then do that, and he was probably playing video games while he was telling me to do this because it was so basic, so simple. And I'd get off, and at first I was very gung-ho about it. Over time, I started to think, man, this wasn't worth the money. It was the first time I was willing to bet on me with more money.
Yeah.
And because I was willing to unlock that fear, it allowed me to start scaling the company. Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If you're scared to invest in yourself, you're going to be more scared to invest in other people.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start scaling the company. Before then, I couldn't do it because I couldn't let go of the money. I didn't have the money. Then if I had it, I couldn't let go of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good, man. I think you're a great story for Coach. Just your success you had, but the concepts that you pass on to people are so valuable. The team that you're building. You said something to me one time: when you don't honor commitment in one area of your life, it feeds other area. And I don't know whose quote that is. Maybe Cardone's, but talk a little bit about that, because here's why everybody needs a coach: is we all need to be operating at our best. It helps in every area of life, for our communities, for our families, for our businesses. That's why everybody needs a coach. And really, I'm on a mission to help people wake up in their minds and stop sleepwalking through life, because if you're producing at your best, if you're operating at your full potential, every area of your life will, and that'll affect the people around you. And that's important in today's world. So
very important.
Talk about how you hold your guys accountable, how you hold yourself accountable to making commitments, and how that's helped you.
Well, to most of them that are here, it's going to be a very unreasonable thing I'm trying to teach them.
Okay.
They don't like it. One guy, one time he was in a car wreck.
Okay.
And he hit his little head on the, where'd he hit his head?
Steering wheel.
Dashboard.
Yeah.
Dashboard. Didn't come in the next day because he had what?
CTE.
He had a headache.
Okay.
Then the next day, no, I think he was probably taught to that day. Were you
Okay.
taught to that day?
Yes.
What were you told that day? What were you told that day?
By-
I'm sorry, what was that person told that day?
Yeah.
Is that all they said was like, hey, you need to come in, buddy?
No, they were like, your ass better be there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
Better
send,
honor your commitment of saying
Okay.
you do something that you said.
that's unreasonable. Then the other day, this mystery person sent a text that he had a sore throat. Thinks he's got strep throat. And I just said, well, man, do you really think you could fight through this? Do you really want to let yourself down? Because this person, what we're trying to get right is his mind.
Yeah.
And if you can build the right mindset, you'll feel like you can do anything. Like Josh, this guy over here. I saw this guy, I don't even know if he was running, but he built this mindset to where he really feels like he can do anything. It's an invincible condition, we'll say, to where he really almost feels like he can do anything. And he made a bet this day that he could run a 6-minute mile, and nobody believed it. I went in there and I filmed it. Well, he started off really, really fast. And these things, people think they're physical, but they're very mental. He's on the treadmill and he's hauling ass. I mean,
Yeah.
he is really getting after it. Halfway through, I'm like, man, he's going to do it. This kid is going to do it. 3/4 of the way, he's like out on his feet.
Yeah.
He is like on those treadmills, there's these rails and he's up against them. And I'm like, dude, you got to slow down.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't allow himself to slow down. Right before he finished, he was like holding it in puke.
Yeah.
He did do exactly what he said he was going to do, and he went and he puked in a trash can. You know, those things really inspire me, because if he can do it, I can talk myself into it. So
That's right.
These commitments that I talk about, they're very unreasonable, because your mind is, if you really push it, you'll be amazed at how unreasonable things can become reasonable to you.
I think the best people in the world are irrational. They have a concept that's going to impact the world greatly. So a lot of people point fingers at them. They talk about them. You think about the best people in the world who are doing something big, whether it's, I'm thinking of a pastor who's out west that I study a lot. He's come up with a concept in the mid-'90s, and he's pushed it, and he's impacted the world with it. I think about Coach Burt, who's impacted his communities with the Monster Producer in a big way.
See, what I think
But
about it
most people would say that it's irrational, the behaviors that they do every day.
I think Coach Burt is very unreasonable.
Yeah.
What he does, where he can be gone. So like a lot of people just do not understand what a freak this guy is. How he can be out till midnight, and the next day he's right back in there.
Yeah.
And he expects everybody. He's got very high expectations of
Yeah.
other people.
It's irrational.
It really is, but Coach didn't start this at 20 years old.
Yeah.
Remember, when he was 15, 16 years old, he thought he was Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
He started building this mentality, this mindset at a very early age, and that's why at 46 years old, he's so much further ahead than other people. I tell my guys, we got a lot of people here that are 24, 27, 21 years old, and I want them, when they're 40 years old, my goal for them is to be at such a high level that they've got this life that they never thought they could have because of the lessons, the accountability, the extreme commitments. That is what's going to change your life. And I just don't think people understand the journey, what's required, the sacrifice. Most people are a victim of a weak mind. And that's the only reason why they just have a shitty life.
Yeah.
They just don't know what it takes.
Yeah.
And hearing Tim's story the other night, the more you do, the more you say you're going to do, and the more you do, you're going to start to expect things. And when you expect things, you're a lot more persuasive.
That's good.
Most people, they can't close others because they can't close themselves on being committed to what they said they were going to do. And you just don't understand the spiritual power that you have. And so these guys, the way they get better is they don't have a choice. If they want to stay here, these are just things we got to do. And it's probably a lot of times. How many times do you want to quit, Josh? 5 or 6. How many times do you want to quit? 10. How many times do you want to quit?
Quite a few.
Well, I don't even know if it's because of how rough I've been on you. I'm not overly rough on you, but I want to push people to a point of giving up because I want to see if they can fight through that and stay committed to it.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to be a lot harder on people here than what we are. Like Josh, we were probably the hardest on Josh. Because I told him, like, dude, you're 18 years old. I'm going to treat you like you're a grown man because if you think this is hard, this real world's a lot tougher out there. So we were rough on Josh to prepare him. Was I right? Is it harder out there?
Yeah, 100%.
So you got to prepare people. You got to prepare them for what it's going to be like. So this little incubator, what we have here, is like, it's like it's the training ground, if we were in the military, for going to war.
Yeah.
The war is the outside
But
business.
it's changing their life, not just their
Well,
business.
I hope it changes their life. I hope that they understand the most powerful resource you have is your mind.
Yeah.
And if you can convince yourself to always do what you say you're going to do, you're going to start to see very unreasonable goals being met.
So that's a good lead-in, because the last question I wanted to ask you is, how have your goals changed from when you first got in?
Well, that's why you got to continue to stay in a coaching program. That's why you got to stay close to somebody like Coach, because I think I remember the day I was with some people that were working for Coach the first time his company hit $1 million. And they were out with me, and they weren't in the office, and he wrote a damn blog about how shitty his employees. And they're sitting there and we're together, and they see it.
Yeah.
$1 million was a big number.
Yeah.
I told this story the other day. It took me 10 years to get to $100,000.
Okay.
There's people here. Josh is going to be where I was at 21.
Wow.
Hey, Josh is going to be where I was at 40. at 22 years old. I want you to think about that. Josh thinks a lot bigger than, like, whenever you're asking him what he wants like probably 1,000 agents working for him one day. So where I really struggle, Eric, I'm 49 years old, and I've always had to make sense of where I was going to get to.
Yeah.
And I had to mechanically put steps in place to go from here to here, and it was all thought out and it all could happen. And every single time I did that, what I was pursuing wasn't big enough to change my life.
Yeah.
So imagine if you're eating all this food and you're trying to lose weight to get to a certain weight, but you're eating this food and there's no results. And over a year, there's no results. And then over 5 years, there's no results. Well, you're doing all this hard work, but something's not working right. What wasn't working right for me is I was thinking too small, and my effort matched the goal.
Yeah.
And I needed more. I needed more to shoot for. So I needed a goal so big I couldn't do it on my own.
Yeah.
And that's what really inspires me is not to do something on my own. I need people.
Yeah.
I need, even though I bitch at you, I still need you.
Yeah.
I need you. Together we can accomplish a lot more. So I'm looking at doing big things. I want us to get to 1,000 homes sold.
Okay.
I want to have a house on the beach. I want 100 million in real estate assets. I want to make $5 million a year to me personal income. And I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I know I can't let up on the things that have got me here. I got to grab other things and get around other people. I got to continue to develop myself. And I really feel like if I stop doing the things that have got me here, I really feel like I've also agreed that these goals aren't as important as I said they were. A lot of people, they come and go in coaching programs. They're there a year. And here's where I see people screw up in the coaching program. They come and coaching programs do become redundant. You can hear $1 million follow-ups, enough, or you can hear his legacy selling system enough to where you're like, he says it, now I can predict what he's saying. Then people have the idea of, well, I really don't need to continue to spend this $500 a month,
right,
or whatever it is. And then they get out of it. But here's what they don't know, and I have learned this over time because I challenge my guys to do this. You hear the information, but you can't duplicate it to scale other people.
Right.
Like Cam, I made him get up the other day on the boot in front of people. There's about 25 people in here. And he knows our sales process, but I made him get up there. He knows it. How well did you duplicate it?
Not the best.
Well, give me a number so we can just tell the people.
I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say 6.
What would you give his number?
3.
I was going to say it's a lot lower than that, Cam. Shit. But you got to perform at a high level with the content or the message that you're giving. I've been in coach's program. I don't even know how long I've been in there, and it's really like a non-negotiable. I might say, you know what, I need to save money. But looking back, I bought a marriage retreat.
Yeah.
That was $5,000. I bought.
You've easily spent $100,000 with him.
Oh, I'm just saying in the last 2 or 3 months after I'm like, I'm not going to do anything, but he'll make a ridiculous offer. I bought those books. That was $7,500. There was something else. I think that's 75. There's 12.5. There may have been something. I paid $10,000 for is it $10,000 for the hunting club?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So,
just this year.
I remember when I was scared to death to spend $400 a month
Yeah.
with him. And now it's, I can make sense of this because I've got people to help. I've got kids to raise.
Yeah.
Okay. I need his information to improve them. Everything that they know that I have taught them has been learned from him or Cardone.
Yeah.
Now what I do is I get them up. I want them to learn how to teach it. Because when you teach it, you get a lot better.
When I first came to coach 6 years ago, I was coming out of a college basketball career, and I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. And if I had gone to a Nissan dealership or wherever, put me out there selling cars or some real estate office randomly, I'd have starved to death.
Yeah.
And the power of being in a network of people, but being in a high-pressured, aggressive system where you're coached, held accountable, man, it saved me. It's helped me produce for my family. maybe a better person. You know, I would have never done a podcast, by the way, 6 years ago like this, right? But
You've done a hell of a job. Has he done a good job?
Great job.
thanks, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But my point is, if you're in a job right now and you're not held accountable, you're not coached, you're not trained, you're not pushed, man, go find somewhere that does it for you. You know, come work for Tommy. For Pete's sake, come to work for Coach Burt. You know, I mean, I think there's tremendous value, and most people would not do that. I've had
Most-
conversations with people locally about joining your team. They're like, man, there's no way I would. I'm not.
What do
getting-
they say?
Oh my God, I'm not going over there. He's crazy.
So they say.
Yeah, but see, people see it as irrational.
Do you think it's crazy?
It's not crazy, it's just, you just have
Sh-
to count.
What do you think?
It's crazy.
Yeah,
What do you think?
Crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Because
want it
most,
to be
most
crazy.
people won't do it. They won't come in here on Saturdays and be trained. They won't.
We haven't done
Allow-
that. We ought to bring that back. But now I'm boxing on Saturday mornings. But
We should do a little mixture.
So yeah, boxing, sales training.
That's right.
well, I mean I feel like those early days of doing all that stuff. I mean I used to really make them do some things that were.
I mean, you take 2 or 3 years ago when I first came in, and Josh, those guys were here.
Well-
They'd come in with work boots and dirt and
Well, I would
pants
make-
that were split.
I would-
in the
ch-
butt and you know what I'm saying? T-shirts and baseball hat on.
I would
backwards.
challenge them. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time what I was doing, but I was really identifying the culture that I wanted.
Yeah,
I would make, and you know, I had a lot of tough people. You know, Drew and Josh were young and dumb, but very tough. And
Yeah,
they had
they
a
were.
lot of courage,
Yeah.
and they were like, "I'll do it."
Yeah.
Josh, get up here and take your shirt off in front of the camera. You know, the way
Yeah.
the way Drew was hired, he told the story at the boot camp is. We didn't sit down and we didn't talk and I didn't ask him things. It was this simple, man. Let me see you get on this phone. Because if you don't have courage, you don't fit in here. If
That's
you're
right.
not committed, you're weeded out. You can come here without confidence. Me and Coach tell this different. I think everything begins with courage. He thinks everything begins with commitment. But I don't think your commitment is being tested until it's time to do something you don't want to do.
that's right.
One day, I got to be courageous like anytime going on the airplanes.
Yeah.
Those are things.
Yeah.
But every single day, we're trying to push people to overcome their fears because in our business, it's so much about overcoming rejection.
That's good. That's a good way to end it. So we want to challenge you today. If you're fearful in some area of your job, if you're scared to get on the phones, if you're scared to follow up, if you're scared to approach somebody.
What is something you could sell? Do y'all have any offers?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, this is a podcast, not really a.
Okay.
But
Dang, I wish so. Yeah, I wish there's a way you could give them an offer, and whatever you could sell, I'd like to teach you for them.
oh wow,
Like I don't know.
maybe we need to come up with that later.
Well,
'cause
what could be an offer that I could teach them how I built this bunch? And some people aren't going to be interested in this because they're going to say it's like a frat house over there. But you know, I think whatever your vision is, you can hold people to those standards. Mine was this: tough people, tough former athletes. Most of the people that do well are like former athletes around here, so they're okay with being coached hard. But you ought to come up with an offer, and I don't want Coach to. I mean, I don't even want Coach to have to come there because
Okay.
we didn't even ask him to
Okay.
do this. But
Yeah.
I would like to come and teach something that other people are interested in. And you know, here's the thing I would tell people: when they say no to y'all's offer, it says more about them than it does about your offer. Because even if you go do something and the content sucked, it's still a demonstration to yourself. I'm going forward. I'm going this direction. That's where your commitment and your confidence is built.
I think a lot of people medicate with personal development. I think they do. I think they buy stuff to make them. I think a lot of people medicate with church. They medicate with.
They do.
You know, they medicate.
But at some
they go
point-
sit in an environment. They think, okay, now I'm better.
At some point, though, a result will say what the truth is.
That's right.
And enough people aren't getting the results because of their lack of courage.
That's good. That's a good way to end it. Boom.
Thank you, EY.
Yeah, that's so good.
Shut us down, Vingeruff team.